Welcome to Arts for You, the podcast where creativity meets purpose and the arts come alive in everyday life. I am Dr. Zuzana Ben Lassoued, musicologist, pianist, interdisciplinary artist, and passionate educator. Each episode on Arts for You, we explore how the arts inspire, educate, and heal through the voices of students, educators, and creative minds. Together, we uncover how music, drama, dance, and visual arts transform our classrooms, nurture mental well-being, and build essential life skills. Whether you are a student discovering your creative spark, an aspiring teacher, or a curious parent wondering how the arts can empower your child, this is your space. Because the arts aren't just something we do, they are a way we learn, connect, and grow. The arts are who we are becoming. Today's episode is all about music and how it can sharpen the mind and nourish the soul. Music is a language everyone can relate to. It expresses what words often can't. It transcends culture, time, and barriers. Joining me today is Carmelina Allegretti, an educator and administrator who has long championed integrating the arts into education. Welcome, Carmelina, and thank you for being here. Can you share a bit about your background?
Hi, Zuzana. Thank you for having me on your podcast. Yes, I've been an educator for over 18 years, and now I'm an administrator for the past few years. And during my years of teaching, I've always integrated the arts in all my subjects in some shape or form. And I just find that it creates a whole new dimension when teaching. And it's become a crucial component when dealing with the students because they are more engaged and the learning is a different style of learning. So it's really interesting. So I'm really excited to talk about the music and how that's integrated in the arts into education.
So let's begin with the emotional power of music. Music helps us express emotions, sometimes with words, like in songs, musicals, or operas, and sometimes without any words at all. Even music in a language we don't understand can move us deeply. Sadness might be conveyed through slow tempos, low registers, and minor keys, though perceptions vary across cultures. Some may hear minor as melancholic, others as joyful. Happiness often comes through upbeat rhythms and bright tonalities. But the deepest emotional connection doesn't come from the notes themselves. It comes from the interpretation. When musicians connect the notes into meaningful phrases, it's like forming sentences, telling a story through sound. The phrasing, the intention, the subtle nuances, that's where the emotion lives. I tell my students telling a story in music is important, but even more important is how we'll tell it. We'll all heard the same story told by different people, but we only remember the ones who infused it with feeling, with soul. For musicians, the greatest challenge is combining the heart and mind, playing with emotion while honoring the composer's intentions through analysis. I've seen many musicians impress audiences with technical mastery, but what truly matters is emotional truth conveyed through sound. Music becomes powerful when we make it personal. For my piano students, storytelling is part of every performance. They prepare not just the music, but also research and analysis, including PowerPoint presentations that help audiences understand the pieces, composers, and the students' own interpretations. It becomes a full learning and storytelling experience. We need stories, and we need storytellers. When listening to classical music, Imagine the story behind it. When listening to pop, hip hop, or rock, think about how it could be reinterpreted, reimagined. We just need to keep creating, discovering new ways to interpret and communicate. You know, people are often impressed by fast, loud playing, but sometimes the most unforgettable moment is just a single note or a piece of music played or sang at a slow tempo and with such depth that it brings people to tears.
So, Susanna, how exactly does music help students emotionally?
Music is a powerful outlet, especially for students who struggle to express themselves verbally. It speaks when words fall short, just like visual art. In fact, sound and color are deeply connected. I'll talk about that in our next episode featuring my oil paintings series, Sounds and Colors. Listening to music also plays a major role, but not all listening is the same. Some music can uplift and heal, some can agitate or discourage. Just like the people we surround ourselves with, the music we consume daily has an influence. Personally, I have different listening styles. After teaching, I listen to what I call cheesy pop, not for depth, but as background music to unwind. Other times, I dive into music to analyze and interpret it. Sometimes music inspires movement, it gets us dancing. And then there's the kind of listening where I imagine how I would interpret the piece myself, thinking, how could I play this better or in different way? For pianists, the instrument itself plays a huge role. Unlike other instrumentalists, we don't carry out instruments with us. So we must adapt to Steinways, Yamahas, Bösendorfers, or other pianos. Each piano brings out something different. I prefer Bösendorfer for warmth, Yamaha for clarity and color, and especially for the Romantic period, and Steinway and Sons for Bach and classical era pieces. As for students, whether they are listening or performing, music builds awareness. Listening can trigger memories, soothe anxiety, or energize you. Performing music allows students to physically and emotionally express themselves, and the skills they develop transfer to all areas of life. I've worked with students from ages 3 to 70, and even my kindergarteners showed incredible emotional insight when they sang, danced, or played instruments. Music allows freedom within structure. Even when following curriculum, we can guide students to create, improvise, and explore. Some prefer soft, low sounds, others love loud and energetic instruments. The key is letting them explore. Give them choices. Connect music to a story, especially one they already know, and they'll understand and feel it more deeply. In elementary and high schools, students find identity through choirs, bands, talent shows, and musical productions. Some find joy in improvisation. Others feel empowered by following written scores. Each path helps students explore and express their emotions.
Susanna, what about the academic benefits? Can music really support learning?
Absolutely, Carmelina. Music builds a bridge between all subjects. Through music, students learn math, for example, fractions, patterns, rhythm. Through language, they can learn lyrics, storytelling. Science, they can learn vibration, acoustics, and through history, they learn context and culture. I've had students compose waltzes based on pi number, jazz pieces on Fibonacci numbers, and music inspired by their sports routines or interests in science. Music reinforces memory. It's easier to remember a tune than a list. For example, it's easier to memorize the periodic table through a song than it is to memorize it as a list. And it engages both sides of the brain, giving your mind a message, so to speak. For younger children, music helps them learn the alphabet or the days and months of the year, numbers, French grammar, mathematical shapes and forms more quickly. The list is endless, and the songs already exist. Music also gives students a space to breathe, a creative break in a world of tests and expectations. This is very important to keep in mind as educators.
I agree with you, Zuzana. I have to just share an experience because you talked about how music helps student memorize things as opposed to memorizing a list. And teaching for French immersion for over 18 years, and a very heavy program with verbs and tenses, and then days of the week, and learning all this in a different language. I integrated it with song, with music, and it just helps students remember, and when they forget, you actually see them clapping it out or singing the song for them to remember, the verbs or the days of the weeks or the months of the year. So it's pretty incredible to see how powerful music can be when learning, within the curriculum. But now I'd like to talk about the social collaborative growth. How does music help students connect, especially those who are shy?
Well, music is a second language for many. I've worked with international students who were too shy to speak but came alive through music. In one high school, I formed a music club with students who had never played before. We prepared for festivals and concerts. One student, incredibly shy, became a leader in a music class, helping others compose and perform. By year end, he received the Most Improved Student award. Another student in grade 8 performed in a talent show after a few days of rehearsals and vocal coaching, and her confidence brought teachers to tears. Through music, students find their voice and often carry that confidence into public speaking, presentations, and beyond.
Susanna, I have to share a story. This what you've just mentioned sparks a memory of mine that many years ago. I mean, I've been running talent shows for many years, and as a teacher, I ran this one year in particular, a talent show, and I had a student that had a disability. She was a special needs student, um, and she was fighting an illness, and she had a disability with that. And when we did the auditions, she showed up, and I have to tell you that you know, myself and the other teachers that were there and, doing the auditions, we were kind of like taken back a bit. We're like, wow, okay, this is this is actually really cool. Like this is actually amazing because this student, she would she's that shy student. She's the one that's struggling with her health. She's that one that's struggling with her disability. She's that one who's struggling, being included and being part of something. But when she showed up, it was like good for her. Good for her for being brave coming into audition. Good for her for, just getting up there in front of all of us and singing. And so we thought, okay, let's listen to what's going on here. So she did. She sang her piece. And let me tell you, we were in awe. All of a sudden, this quiet, shy person all of a sudden came to life. She was a different person through music and through her song. And when she sang it with emotion and power and just, such feeling and meaningful. So when that happened, we were like, I was brought to tears. I was literally crying. I felt like I was Simon from American's Got Talent. And honestly, when she finished her audition, I just stood up and clapped. And I just said, good for you. That was amazing. Like, it was incredible. It was just, and it wasn't even about her voice. I mean, her voice was beautiful, but it wasn't that touched me. It was the fact that she came out of her shell. She used music as a tool to come out of her shell and become alive and become something that was incredible. And we, honestly, our jaws dropped to the ground. It was such a memory. And for all the talent shows I put on, this is the one that sticks in my mind, because this was the one that was so powerful and meaningful to see a student use music and to come and just do her thing and take a chance. And that alone was absolutely phenomenal. It was just, I mean, I could go on. I can't even explain to you the feelings of emotion that was going on when I saw her and heard her. It was just incredible to see this person become, we were like, who is this person? Who is she? But she was amazing. And let me tell you, the day that we did the talent show and she performed, everybody, and I mean everybody, we cheered her on, we clapped. It was magic. It was like the whole school. She sang in front of the whole school. It was just, no one said anything. Everyone was just quiet when she sang. And when she finished, there was an explosion of happiness, an explosion of like, wow, from teachers and students. It was absolutely incredible. And that just shows you how powerful music can be to anyone. It's amazing. And it was incredible. So I'm really happy to know that, music is something, and I know this is your forte, the music piece, and it's just amazing to see and hear how beautiful music can inspire someone and get them out of their shell, especially those who are shy or just taking a chance and saying, I'm going to use music as a tool to help me. And that's what she did. And it was incredible. So having said that, I mean, the next thing I would like to talk about was the confidence and self-esteem. And just saying my story shows that confidence and self-esteem. But for parents, I mean, I wish I had an opportunity to speak to her parents, because I would have liked to know what they were feeling, what emotions were going through them when they saw their daughter up on that stage. So my next question to you, Zuzana, is how does music build confidence? How can parents support that?
Carmelina, this was a beautiful story, and I really wish that we as educators, we would have always chance to talk to the parents of all the students that they perform. Usually we do, and it is truly memorable to see such performance. So for parents, here is something important. Your child's music might not sound beautiful at first, and that's okay. Music becomes beautiful after the hard work. Support their process, even when it sounds messy. praise effort, not perfection. Progress in music doesn't look the same for everyone. Some students bloom early, some later. Be patient, encouraging, and present.
This is actually a very good point. I'm glad you made it. And it's very valid because that is so true that some students do bloom later, and that's okay. Everyone, the same that everyone has a different learning style of learning. The same thing with you know students blooming earlier and some later. And parents, I know some parents that have, they talk to other parents and say, "Oh, my child does this already. Oh, my child doesn't do this already." And then they sort of like worry, "How come my kid's not doing this yet?" But it's important. It's so important that, and I'm so happy you said this, because parents really need to just step back and just allow their kids to be themselves. And in the process, they should be supporting them. They should be encouraged to support them in their journey throughout their life. So having said that, the emotional regulation and the mental health piece is also crucial and important. So Zuzana, how can music support mental health?
Carmelina, it's really good that you mentioned how parents are worried about their children's mental health, but also about their progress or how they are improving when we see around, especially through media, what is happening. We can go to YouTube, for example, and we can see probably 2-3-year-old children playing complicated, complex pieces. And when parents ask me when my child should start taking piano lessons, yes, I did teach a 3-year-old, but this is not a standard, or this is not something that we need to rush. Every child has a different journey, and that's what's beautiful about every child. We should never compare our children to others. That's number one. Number two, yes, it is good to start early, but we don't have to rush them to start imitating adults. I know imitation is something that we learn so many things, right? Children imitate their parents. Children imitate what is on TV, what is on YouTube. But what we need to watch is every child's individual development. So to answer the question how or when to support mental health, I would say for younger children, I recommend listening to classical music in the car while their parents drive them to after-school activities. It calms the whole family. For teens, ask what music they like, show interest, open a dialogue. Mental wellness also comes from sharing music, talking about it, singing together, making Spotify playlists. It's not just what we listen to, it's how we connect through it.
I totally agree, Zuzana. Um, Now, one more thing about the academic re-engagement. I like to just talk about that a little bit. Any stories of students finding their spark through music?
All the time, Carmelina. Every student experiences a dip in enthusiasm while learning a piece, that moment when it gets hard. But once they push through, the joy returns. They fall in love with their own progress. Music shows them, if I can do this, I can do anything. It builds confidence, persistence, and pride.
So how does music education evolving today?
We need to update our teaching methods, I would say. For example, using Titi Tata for rhythm might work in kindergarten, but older students need more advanced real-world connections. For example, the value of a music note can be explained using pieces of pizza and talking about fractions or monetary value. Let's bring in cross-curricular projects, creative compositions, science, and technology. In grade 1, my students created an African mbira, which is a thumb piano, and they had a lot of fun doing that. Or my piano students connected their compositions to science experiments. Let's make music relevant, engaging, and forward-looking.
Very interesting, Zuzana. One more question. Why does music speak across generations?
Because music is timeless. It speaks a universal language. It connects generations, cultures, and hearts. Music reminds us that despite our differences, we are one human family. Music education isn't about creating professional musicians. It's about shaping thoughtful, expressive, confident human beings. Music teaches emotional awareness, cognitive flexibility, social skills, cultural understanding, mental resilience, and creative expression. Even if students never perform professionally, the skills they learn stay with them for life. To every student, your voice matters. Your story matters. To every parent, music might be the key that unlocks your child's potential. So if today's episode sparked something in you, pick up an instrument, clap a rhythm, sing a song, explore, create, and express yourself. And remember, the arts aren't just subjects, they are life skills. Thank you for listening to Arts for You. Next time, we'll explore sounds and colors, how music and visual art intertwine through oil paintings.
And don't forget, arts for you.